So this is super exciting for me, and we have to thank a couple of good friends of ours, mutual friend Richard Oliver and Lauren Knight. Thank you to both you guys for hooking us up. I'm here with Dave Friedman. Dave, it is amazing meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
In real life.
I've seen lots of videos.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is cool, though, because I was just saying off camera, I'm going to be able to ask you anything about Marshalls and expect you to know all about it. And he's like, maybe. Outside of Jim, you're probably the person I would trust the most to sort of answer questions.
I do have a love for that original brand, Marshall, yeah.
And you can take them to the next level, and I'd love to know why. So maybe I'll ask you 1,000 questions. Maybe I'll just gaze at all these beautiful guitars and, of course, incredible amps. Just do a bit of everything.
Okay, sure, yeah.
So this is your workshop. Is this where you design stuff?
This is where I design stuff, custom shop. I mean, we still... You know, my career started as a rig builder.
Okay.
That was originally what I was doing before amps. And we still do that. We build rigs, we built rigs for the late, great Eddie Van Halen, So all sorts of, touring professionals. Incredible. We still do that, along with, I still do a bunch of amplifier service and modifications for people, restorations, and designing new products for Friedman.
What are you working on currently that you're allowed to tell us about?
Well, since it's been mentioned, you could see parts coming out of a chassis.
Let's do that. Parts. I'm down with everything.
This way.
This is awesome. And an incredible collection of guitars that I can use. Oh, I love those tellies. Oh, what is, before we even walk in there, tell me about this.
That is a Friedman Vintage T telly. Just twist it a little bit, yeah.
Oh, look at this.
That's a mahogany bodied.
Oh, it's
so this is a take on a telly version of a Les Paul Jr. or something, with the P90s and the
We're not
red.
even going to get in the next room without me picking up guitars.
The trans red,
Oh, gorgeous. And I love the matte finish on this. Absolutely gorgeous.
The whole concept behind all the guitars, the guitar line is high-end guitar, but kind of feels like an old one. It doesn't feel like new and sterile,
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I love that. Oh, gorgeous. Sorry, we are going to get in and see amps now. I promise. Even though there's more guitars on here that I want to pick off the wall as well. Gorgeous. Oh, I love them. All right, let's go and check out this new amp. Is there a name?
There's not an official name for it yet, but it's just obviously a prototype.
Yeah.
And there's parts and wires hanging out of it.
Yeah.
It's my take on my 50-watt Plexi that I have out there that I've based almost my entire amp line kind of off of.
Oh, wow.
Sonically.
Wow.
Added more features, but...
A little bit extra low end. Your amps as well just have a little bit more low end.
More gain, more low end. But where it's all started was the original 50-watt Plexi that I used to run with a Variac and kind of that thing. We're starting a vintage line.
Okay.
And the vintage line, the first two things in the vintage line are going to be 50-watt Plexi-style amp with the built-in Variac.
Oh, wow.
It does have a post-phase master of certain kind that's kind of different than most. And we're also going to do a top boost style AC amp.
Oh, amazing.
Those
two of my favorites.
First two things. Then there'll be probably more down the line. And this is the no frills, no loop, no nothing. These are the vintage.
Right.
They have to sound like the originals.
That's amazing. The Variac built in is going to be pretty huge.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of argument about how to get Eddie's tone.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, and the hand transplant is their big problem.
Yeah, yeah. There was a great interview with him in the 80s, and Guitar Player or something like that, where he's like, give me any guitar and it sounds like me.
True.
Yeah.
I've heard him play through a Line 6 Spider amp, and it still sounds like him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Takes the hands and the brain. So this is basically the 50-watt Variac. Anything else special about it that you're happy to tell us about?
Sure, because no one's seen any of this yet. So it's two channels, just like, so there's a bass, kind of a bass channel and a treble channel.
Okay.
Like a typical Marshall, but also has three-way bright switches on each one. So if you're a guy that's a Strat guy, wants a fat, cleaner tone, we can use the bass channel and hit the bright switch on and kind of dial it in so it's that big, fat, round tone. If you're more of the guy that wants to do Edward Van Halen, then you can dime it all and
Yeah.
put the Variac on and use the other channel. But they're blendable also.
It's like everywhere's like heaven. Look at this. Look at that Guild. That is an awesome guitar.
Those are cool. I changed the pickups, so we put Gibson mini hums in it.
I was wondering what those were.
Yeah.
I'm a big.
So
Guild.
originally it was single coils in that particular model, the S60, I think.
60D, yeah. Yeah.
Those are cool guitars. 24 fret, really cool neck, really cool.
I'm doing it. I'm pulling it off the wall. Everybody's watching, going, Warren, what the heck? Oh yeah. Look at this. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely gorgeous. I love things that just have their own personality and different. I see somebody put some shallows on.
Yeah, and if you notice, they're not 3 and 3; they're a 6 set.
Oh yeah, 6 set and they're flipped over. I know you know what that song that was. It's absolutely gorgeous.
That guitar is interesting because I find I've never experienced another guitar. If you sit in a chair in your lap,
Yeah.
it's the most balanced guitar sitting on your knee
It was
that
very
you've almost
balanced.
ever experienced. It's interesting.
Yeah. Guild are an incredibly underrated company for electric.
Yeah, I mean that was an amazing, I think amazing guitar. I think it's a walnut body, and I think it's a mahogany neck.
And the other thing about it is it's unusual. It's not stock. It doesn't look like everybody else's take.
Yeah.
You have some really unusual guitars here, but let's get to that in a second. Tell me about this beautiful looking pink amp here.
This is a Friedman small box custom amp that we do sometimes. Person wanted it in pink. We're going to, of course, oblige.
Yeah. Why the heck?
Purple, orange, whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, I grew up, like we were just about off camera earlier, loving all the anniversary series. My age group, of course, is Silver Jubilee. When I was a teenager, that came out. And I still think that's one of my favorite Marshall amps that they made. Is there a reason? Was there anything special about it?
That was very different than most everything else that they've ever done.
Right.
Has some clipping diodes in it, actually, that are kind of part of the sound of it.
Yep.
It's not really good for super high gain, but just that crunchy.
Absolutely.
I mean, Slash made it most famous, I think,
Yeah, agreed.
It's a cool sounding amp.
Yeah.
It's good.
Is there a reason why I like JCM 900s, but everybody else hates them? Is this what's different about a 900?
900 there's almost no, it's not all tube. It's mostly, there's clipping and there's lots of op amps and lots of
I see.
solid state.
So for a purist, it's like
it's not really the the greatest thing in the world, but you can get a sound out of anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's really, anything can work for a sound, right?
Yeah.
Depends on what you're shooting for, who you are as a player, what your hands sound like, everything.
I always felt like it was a reaction because my age group, again, is GSM 800s. This is a great question for you because the records that people were making when that was brand new weren't using JCM 800s.
No.
Everybody was using amps made 10 years before.
Correct.
But people go, I want the sound of the 80s, I'm going to get a JCM 800. It's like, you're not going to get the sound of the 80s because nobody was using that. They were using 70s Marshalls. Yes,
mostly they were using 70s Marshalls. And when the 800 came around, it was kind of regarded, I remember distinctly, as...
I know where you're going.
Shitty, awful.
It was thin, it was bright, it didn't have the low end, the thickness.
It didn't have that thing. And even though the predecessor to that series was the 2203,
which I own,
which is the same circuit technically, but the transformers got a little worse, and it sounded a little worse parts and a little. Right. It just sounded a little more anemic compared to even a 2203, which is again the same circuit.
Which we have a 2203, and we love ours. It's great. It's a 50 watt, and it's a really great. It was Vivian Campbell's old amp, so it has a little prestige to it. Now, whether it makes it sound better or not,
right, exactly.
But I always wondered this sort of rebirth in 800s, why people are sort of like putting them on some kind of pedestal. Because when I was a kid and they were new, we didn't have them on that pedestal.
No, there wasn't. I agree with you on this point exactly. I mean, it can get a good sound.
Yeah.
But really, it's the 2203 circuit. It's just kind of a semi-crappier version of it.
That's the quote. Dave Friedman, the 2020 semi-crappier version of it. Great. Yeah. So for you, going back, what is your ideal amp? It's that 50 watt.
I like old old plexi
Plexi.
style amps, super lead circuits, but plexi style amps.
Right.
Because that just, they're loud, but
Yeah.
nothing sounds.
They have that thickness on the lows.
Compression
and the low mids.
too, like a certain amount of compression when you're pushing that amp to, inches of its life. Just goes rah.
So we're talking about the amp. Is it here? Can we see it?
The original?
Yeah, the original.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Love this purple. Look at that. Gorgeous.
That's the original.
Wow, here it is. What year was this made?
1968. I got it probably around 1989, 90 for $300.
I was about to say, that was probably about the time nobody cared.
$300.
Wow.
And it has a replaced power transformer in it, but that's okay. The output transformer is all original, and a few parts changed out inside, but it has a certain sound.
So I see you have a high watt down here.
Yeah, that's an interesting high watt. It was a PA head, obviously, PA 100, and it's been converted to Stevie Fryette from Fryette amp and VHT amp fame. I gave it to him one day, and I go, hey, make this your favorite high watt circuit, because he knows them inside and out. And he did, and then he did a whole series of videos on this amp, trying to get other ones to sound just like it, because it was so good.
Wow.
So it's essentially a DR-103,
right?
The way it sits now,
Yep.
But a certain era one,
right,
that he picked.
Correct me if I'm wrong with high watt. See, as a recording engineer, I was really excited to find out that Rupert Neve came up as a transformer designer, and he actually made Partridge transformers.
Oh yeah,
so
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. Which of course I think they're in high watts, and they're also in Laneys as well, aren't they?
They're in the old Laneys, the Supergroup Laneys.
Yeah,
they're in some Carlsboro amps, and they're in high watts.
You're the only American I've ever met that even knows what a Carlsboro amp is, because they were like the entry level in England. They were kind of our PV, if you like.
Yeah,
they had PV in America.
Those are cool.
Some of them are amazing.
Yeah. Those are cool. And Selmer might have used some of the Partridge in some of the amps too.
Yeah. I just think it's a nice connection that he's designing Partridge transformers, and he's the most famous.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, and there he is.
Yeah.
Inside of his transformers are inside some of the greatest amps ever made. So it's a nice little connection.
Yeah.
The rumor was when I was a kid, I don't know how much the true this is that post-war there was a lot of women that had worked in factories building, planes, etc.
Yeah.
They're doing point-to-point wiring that were hired by Hiwatt to make their amps. And the rumor is, if you take these apart, it's so well done. And
it's meticulous.
Because it's done by military grade.
It's one of the nicest looking amps inside. Just beautiful. All laced together. Just gorgeous.
Yeah, so done by the same people that were putting Spitfires together were also making Hiwatt amps. Back
when there was highly skilled labor.
Yeah.
Available.
Yeah, incredible.
Things change over the years.
Bandmaster, is that another favorite of yours?
This is the brown face Bandmaster with the harmonic tremolo, which sounds very much like a Univibe.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just a standard Fender tremolo. It has that swimmy, chorused-like effect.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The brown faces are really cool for that. That's why I bought it.
So tell us about these cabs before we get to the other side.
Early 70s, Marshall 4x12s. This one has blackback, Celestion blackback speakers, originals in them.
Is that 25 or 30 watt?
25 watt.
Okay, great.
75 hertz blackbacks.
Yeah.
And that is the latter when they switched to 65 watt speakers.
Okay, I remember that.
Old ones sound good.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. Yeah. When they got to 70 and 75 watt speakers, it's lost it. But those particular speakers sound really good.
So when I was a kid, everybody loved the 25s.
Yeah.
That was the cab. And then I've noticed in the last 10, maybe 15 years, everybody's moved to the 30s. Do you have an opinion between 30s and 25s?
Vintage 30s?
Yeah.
Yeah, vintage 30s became super popular in, towards the late 80s. That pretty much was the only speaker that was ever rented in all the, when I said I'd come from Andy Brower studio rentals originally, they were always renting V30 cabinets.
Yeah.
Always. Records upon records.
And I always thought it was the 100 watts were the ones that I loved.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the vintage 30 became a synonymous speaker with a lot of music, used a lot.
Right. But in the 60s and early 70s, it would have been...
Greenbacks.
The
Greenbacks or blackbacks, later
Yeah.
70s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, those are just two little specimens.
Do you have a favorite cab?
I like that one, the blackback with the 75 hertz Celestians in it.
So I'm going to
And I have that one.
to plug those two things in.
I have that one, and I also really love a wooden cabinet I have in the other room that used to belong to Stephen Stills.
Ooh, well, we'll get that back in there in a second, so don't want to ignore these. So obviously this is one of your beautiful amps.
Dirty Shirley amp that we make. It's more fatter, vintagey, JTM 45E based kind of thing.
Lovely, it's all my language.
And then this is the same sort of the small box amp, like the pink one in the other room, but just a standard one in black.
I used to tour the JTM 45.
Yeah.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's cool.
And my friend Ulrich, if he's watching, used to have one of those heads. I think it was maybe a little bit deeper, and it had Marshall written on it, and it was like was it a 2 or 3 ply acrylic? Mm-hmm. And I think it was one of the very first that he made.
It was sort of like this logo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Got stolen when we were kids.
Oh, bummer.
I don't know who's got that.
I don't know.
This I really want to hear as well. How much are these retailing for?
I think it's still $26.99. I could be wrong.
That's great.
Things did go up a little bit.
And then tell us about this. What have we got down here?
That's a 7400 watt that was originally modified by the late great Jose Arredondo.
Wow, tell us a little bit. What kind of mod was done to it?
It was his standard. He called it 3-in-1 mod. It's really sort of 3 sounds. You got a bass channel or a treble channel, or you got the hot input, which is the souped up extra gain stage thing. They're very sought after and never come up for sale.
Oh, so how long have you had this one? Has this one been there?
I haven't had it forever. I found it not maybe 5 years ago or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What's unusual about how he created the gain on the front stage?
He was so ahead of his time with what he did. I mean, he was an extremely popular guy in the early 80s. Just the way he did it. Just it's his circuit, the way he did it. It just sounds proper. I don't know. It's hard to put into words why, but he did it better than most of the time. And still to this day, I mean, a lot of his work is shown up in newer amps, including my own. Okay,
I'm going to ask the dumb guitarist, doesn't know anything about electronics questions. When the 800 came out, and we were talking a minute ago how at the time, contemporary, nobody liked it.
Yeah.
And now it's got this resurgence. We were told, us idiots that don't know anything about electronics, that the problem was all the distortion was being created too early on in the amp, where the classic amps, the power amp stage, overloading was a big part of the sound.
Yes.
Okay, so that's my dumb...
That is correct.
Okay, good.
That is correct. So JCM 800, there's still architecture of any Marshall.
Right.
And if you were to turn the master all the way up...
Yeah.
And then just use the gain and at least get it... There's a bright cap on the gain pot, so you have to get it to like 6 or it sounds anemic.
Yeah.
6 or 7 on the gain.
Yeah.
You get all that roar from the plexi.
Okay, great.
But slightly more gain than that would have had. Okay. Because there's a kind of a cool gain stage after the first one that doesn't exist in like a plexi amp.
Okay.
So it's actually kind of cool. And there's several people that have used amps in that fashion. It's funny. I've shown a few people that before. You ever tried turning the master up?
Right.
And then listen to it.
Yeah, I never really did that because it was so bright when I was on stage using it. And it was so loud. It was so
loud. Yeah, it's true. It's loud. Yeah, well, that's. I mean, like old amps are loud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it almost sounds like a perfect Variac kind of amp. Because if you can take that output stage and crank it, but then mess with it, would that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Or even just a power soak.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. Like some sort of power attenuation. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Tip for your 800: put a power soak on it. Crank the output.
Yeah, and you can play with that master. You don't have to set it on 10. You can set it maybe on 8.
Right.
Or you can just listen. You'll hear it. At one point, all of a sudden, it roars.
Okay. I never got it to be that loud
Yeah.
enough to know. To me, it was always anemic, as you said. Yeah, I was super devastated as a kid because I was like so excited to buy a brand new Marshall, and the 800 was new. And
Well, it's fine if you put a pedal in front of it and then get your more stuff out of it. But
Yeah.
that's what everyone did, really.
yeah, I think the whole what's it called, Tube Screamer thing. I think that came later. I don't think we were DS1 because all we wanted to be Gary Moore, and he would use the Boss DS1. But then he used Super Lees, didn't he? And he just chained them together.
Well, I mean, no. Early on, it was Tube Screamers and OD1s, Boss OD1s.
OD1, yeah.
Or the ladder with the tone knob, OD2. Or people use the DOD 250s to boost their Marshalls.
Right. Boss graphic pedal.
They use that to
Yeah.
do that stuff too. Yeah, sure. Boss graphic, MXR graphic,
Right.
old Boss GE10 graphic, the best one,
Yeah, yeah,
the big one.
yeah.
That just sounds amazing.
All right.
Yeah, even plugging through it, not
Sales of
even using
those just
EQ.
rocketed up.
Yeah, yep. Everything's high. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, everything's too expensive at the moment. Yeah, yeah. This is great. I love picking your brain. I love being confirmed on some stuff and told off on others. This is good. This is what I need. I need to know these things. So do you tell me a bit about your guitars while we're standing here?
Our sort of manufacturing partner, Boutique Amps Distribution, said, I kind of want to make some guitars. We should make some guitars.
Good.
Just because, to be honest, it's fun.
Yep.
I love guitars.
And they pair really nicely with amps.
I grew up with guitars.
Yeah.
I've been around manufacturers, high-end manufacturers for years with guitars. So why not?
Right.
Why not? So, we first contracted with a small builder that was local, but he couldn't kind of keep up with the pace on that. And then later we did a partnership with Grover Jackson.
Amazing.
From Charvel and Jackson fame.
Another Eddie connection.
And now he's sort of semi-retired. He's still doing some stuff, but he's in Nashville. He moved from California. So we're using Billy Rowe, who makes rock and roll relic guitars.
I love Billy. He's a sweetheart.
Yeah. So Billy is...
Yeah.
We used a couple builders, depending on what the guitars are.
Billy's guitars are fantastic.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah.
Really good. He makes an SG that's just unbelievable with the slinkiest, skinniest neck ever.
When he could make that.
Oh, he can't anymore?
No, can't make that anymore.
Yeah, that was
that was a long time ago.
unbelievable.
Yeah, those were great.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the neck was like this, and it didn't bow, it didn't do anything. It was just so slinky. Oh, loved it. To me, a Telecaster Deluxe or Custom is the greatest guitar ever made because it's got everything I love. It's got humbuckers, but it's a Telecaster.
It's kind of a rock and roll machine. You know what I mean? Like that's that's why that's the first guitar I did was the Tele, and people are like, "What? Why do you want to do a Tele? Your kind of clientele isn't necessarily a Tele."
Right.
And I go, "Well, it's a stripped down, bolt on rock and roll machine.
Yeah.
So what are you talking about?" And of course, it's the best selling version of all our guitars.
Nice. So what's this model called with the?
It's a vintage T. These are both vintage Ts. They're just different wood and different pickup accoutrements.
Yeah, I mean, when you see Keith Richards holding a Custom or a Deluxe, it just screams rock and roll.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Jimmy Page. We know Jimmy Page's most of his guitar tones were done on a Telecaster, not a Les Paul.
Yeah. And we did some more traditional ones too, like an Esquire kind of deal, and then we also do a Cali guitar, which is more of the take on the Super Strat from the '80s kind of thing,
But a little bit more rock and roll, not quite so this, which is what I like.
Yeah, a little more. Well, the aging and everything.
Yeah.
I don't like new feeling guitars.
Right, I understand.
I like worn in guitars. And that was the whole point of them. Just make worn-in feeling guitars.
What's this here?
This actually is a Metro D. It's a set neck guitar that we did for a while. And it actually has a friend of mine, you might know him, Billy Morrison.
Yeah. From the Cult.
It's his artwork.
Oh, beautiful.
Because he's an artist and he sells paintings and stuff. It's actually his artwork.
It's a hand grenade for anybody that can't figure it out.
Yeah.
Eric's going to get in on that.
Yeah, it's super cool.
I love the look of that. It might sound silly, but that looks like it plays well. It looks kind of, it's got a very slinky kind of feel.
I need new strings.
Quite bright, yeah. Big fat frets, quite flat radius. So that looks like something that you could shred on and actually blues up as well with those big fat frets.
Yeah.
Which I like on all your guitars. I love that you do that as some kind of standard. Are those large, or is it just the neck complexion that makes it look like that?
No, those are larger frets.
Oh, okay, good.
I think those are larger than those frets.
Yeah.
That's a medium jumbo fret wire on that guitar.
Which is pretty amazing as it is. Yeah, these are beautiful. So we got the guts of an AC, or is AC30? Oh, the whole thing.
Whole thing. This has an interesting history. So I got this a million years ago from a British amp collector, so to speak, who sold me a bunch of amps when I was 18, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I was into amps then.
You started early.
And I had this a long time, and I sold this amp probably in the early 90s to Tim Pierce.
Oh, wow. So Tim had it.
So Tim Pierce was on my video podcast show I do, Tone Talk. And I said to him, I go, you still have that Vox that I sold you years ago? And he goes, yeah, I still have it. Because if you ever want to sell it, I want to buy it back from you. And one day he just calls me and says, I want to get you that amp back. I go, okay, well, what do you want? How much? What do you want? And he goes, well, we'll talk about it later. Maybe we'll do some video stuff. And let's. I just want to get you the amp. Thank you, Tim.
Nice. And it's special, presumably.
It's a copper top with a top boost added by Mark Sampson from Matchless Amp fame.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We were at a studio over the weekend in Austin, and Matchless is back.
Matchless has been around.
But didn't it disappear and become something else? And then
there was Matchless has been around as in the form it's in now for quite a few years.
Yeah.
There was a minute when it kind of, when it kind of went awry can't remember when that was exactly.
Well, because I had a Matchless combo, which was essentially an AC30 that I toured with. I toured with the JCM 45. Originally started off with the JCM 800, was massively disappointed. Got the JCM 45, the reissue, which was great. I had to drive it hard with the pedal, but then ended up with the Matchless. That was like my main amp for many, many years. I loved that amp, and because obviously being a big Brian May fan, I wanted something Vox-ish.
Sure.
I'm excited to hear that. What year is it?
Oh, you want to hear everything?
I
don't
do.
You?
I'm a guitar player. What year is that?
That's a good question. Early 60s, I think.
Wow. And is that an original color?
Well, that's, as the story goes, this might have been a trade show amp that they did.
Oh, wow.
Because it seems to be very old.
Right.
And it seems to be like it wasn't re-Tolexed. It was made that way. So
nice.
We don't really know the total story, but that's the story I was told.
Well, if I was to romanticize, I would say it used to belong to Rory Gallagher. let's put that on it.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Rory Gallagher fan. I can tell you know exactly the language I'm talking when I say Rory Gallagher. Not every American does. Purely and simply because I'm looking over there and I see an HH amp. And I don't know if that's probably the second piece of HH equipment I've seen in America. And I've been here a long time.
Really?
Yeah, people don't know anything about HH. It was one of those, I'm preaching to the choir here, more to the audience. It was the entry-level equipment for so many of us. They made good rocking stuff, PA equipment, guitar amps. Some guitar amps that are still used by Daniel Ash.
Daniel Ash from Love and Rockets.
IC100 still uses that amp.
HH power amps were really popular throughout the 80s, actually.
Yeah.
And they were used, Bob Bradshaw used to use them in Steve Lukather's rig and Mike Landau's
So I didn't know any of this
rig.
in America.
And they were also used, this power amp in particular, the V800, a whole bunch of people, they all used H&H amps for their power amps. And Eddie Van Halen, too.
How do I not know this? Yeah. I was in England, and we had like the little HH.
Eddie Van Halen, right to the end.
I used to use that on a PA.
Use that, you know?
You did?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a secret to the sound that I didn't know.
Well, he always had like a 3-cabinet setup, which is dry and 2 wets.
Yeah.
But they had dry in them also, and the H&H powered the 2 wets. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was using that at the same time in England, not knowing that Eddie was using.
So I've had several over the years, and then opportunity came up to buy someone else's again, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get that just.
That's amazing.
Because so it can sit here and I don't do anything with it.
Yeah, but we're like that. We love our gear.
I just moved all this stuff over here to actually, I'm going to build a little rack kind of with a few really cool old pieces and with the H&H, and that'll be fun.
Now, how much do you know about the IC100s? You know what, those HH amps?
I don't know anything about them.
They're pretty funny. They're like, so for people watching, they're about this wide. They're black, and they have like a green front that lights up. The thing is they used a fluorescent tube to do that, and it was powered straight from the mains. So it had 220, 240 volts going through the front panel. So people were like...
Perfectly safe, right?
Yeah, exactly. People were like doing some home repair and getting electric shock because there's a fluorescent tube on the front.
A lot of things were like that in the
70s and early 80s. Yeah.
Safety.
Safety was very low on the list.
Yeah, there wasn't little outlet covers either for kids.
No.
Yeah, it's just like, well, if you stick something in the outlet, you'll remember not to do that again.
Yeah. And in England, it would probably kill you at 220, 240 volts.
Yes, true.
Yeah, crazy. So what other little goodies here?
There's nothing really that special there. I mean, we have an old SRV 2000 that is going to go in here for fun.
Yeah.
And then there's a newer product from a mixer in there, the switcher mixer that's from...
and the Rocktron?
And that was an old load device.
Oh, okay.
Someone gave it to me recently.
The juice extractor.
Yeah. You could load down an amp and send it, to
and it's got
your power
semi-parametric
amps.
EQ on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Semi-parametric.
It was actually pretty cool for the time when it was done. Yeah.
Nice.
But I don't know. We'll fire it up again and see what it's like now.
Yeah, I'll be excited to hear that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
More guitars. We did see this off camera earlier because we bonded on the fact that we both have Eddie guitars that are both signed by Eddie. Absolutely wonderful. I think mine's from 2017. Looks like yours is 11.
11, yeah.
Gorgeous. What a loss. And what a sweet guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I did a lot of work for him over the years.
Is that all the way back from when you were working with Andy?
No, not that long. I met him then, but no, I really didn't start doing rigs for him until 2003 or something.
Right.
4, somewhere in there.
I don't know how he did his amps. I've never heard an amp that's just like a wall of sound. You literally kind of go, and then when you stop playing, it's just...
Yeah.
Cuts. Now, I'm sure all of the guys that are into metal, which I'm not a metal expert, would it's probably normal common practice for them, but it's such an incredible guitar sound. I think it's become like the standard for like metal guys.
Yeah, I absolutely, yeah. So much so. Even previous to the Fender incarnation, the PV incarnation of the amp was mainstay metal amp. I associate
him with the
his
classic
sounds
Marshall.
are great over the years. The classic Marshall thing, the early records, that's where my head lives.
Right, absolutely, because of that with this amp that you're designing with the Variac. Which I'm incredibly excited to hear, although we can't because it's on the bench being designed as we speak. We talked about this guitar briefly. This was made for you, obviously, with Friedman on it.
Yeah.
In Australia, you said?
Yes, this is Charles Cilia. Charles Cilia is a builder in Australia that does incredible guitars. Just probably some of the nicest work I've ever seen out of anyone.
Gorgeous looking.
Crazy maple tops on all his guitars. Just insane.
Absolutely.
This is just one model. He makes several other models also. But look him up. It's cool.
We're going to. We'll make sure we have a link to it because I played that acoustically and there it goes. Great. It's a gorgeous looking...
it's just a road-worn Strat. There's nothing, just a
Is it a salmon pink? Or is it kind of a look a bit...
Well, I think that's their take on Fiesta. I'm not really sure it's Fiesta, but...
Yeah. Wasn't Fiesta supposed to fade to
Fiesta can look all different kinds of colors. I've seen some that are totally salmon. I've seen some that are...
Right.
They're more red and, so it just depends. That's just a road-worn.
12-string down electro.
Yeah. Another 12-string down electro.
Yeah. Really awesome looking. One of yours. So this is one of your sort of 80s.
That's the NoHo guitar, and that is a 24-fret kind of...
Oh, wow. So.
Yes.
Oh, this is very shreddy.
Yeah. That's what that guitar does.
Oh, yeah. Very shreddy, yeah. That's gorgeous. Yeah, lovely. Floyd Rose. Yeah, gorgeous. Look at that. Oh, I love this. It means getting down here is so easy. So you see the bevel there? They come across, Eric. Very smart. What do these list for?
It depends on what it's coming with. Some of those guitars have maple caps and stuff, so they're obviously more. So it's more in the $3,600 range or something.
And a Sir over there as well.
Yep.
Lovely. All right, we talked about those cabs. And speaking of cabs, it's one of your. So, what do you go for 25s in here when you have the choice?
Well, not if you're using something too powerful.
Right.
That's only 50 watts of handling. So, so it has vintage 30s in it.
Has vintage 30s, that's right. Beautiful.
Which are actually a 70-watt speaker.
Oh, wow. And then these cabs here, are these yours?
This top one is. That's a Friedman 112, just no label on it right now.
Right. And what, a vintage 30 again?
Creamback.
Oh, wow.
Celestian Creamback.
And what's specific and unusual about Creamback?
It's sort of Greenback-esque, but it's a higher wattage capability. Okay. So it's 65 watts.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So which were the cabs? You were speaking that one there in the middle?
That's the one I've had for a million years.
Yeah.
It originally belonged to Stephen Stills. Oh, he did a locker clean out, and I bought it empty, and we put greenbacks from the 90s in it, which it was the 90s when I got it. That's just proven to be like the cab I do everything with.
It's your
control.
It's your control. You know the sound.
Sort of. I know the sound. I know what it sounds like. Yeah.
Control. Thank you.
It's well worn in, shall we say.
Beautiful.
Might not be as bright as it once was.
Wow, look at that. That Lexus Model 92. Jeez. I haven't seen one of these in years. Not outside of the studio.
That one's sick.
Oh, it is?
Mm-hmm. That's a sick one.
This is your switcher?
Yeah, KHE amp switcher.
We need to get an amp switcher, so
yeah, you had someone on your show, and he recommended that too.
Christian Kohler, yeah. So this is the one you think we should get, definitely?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
This looks fantastic, and it looks like it carries 8 amps and 4 cabs, which is probably close to what we have. I think we have 8 amps sitting there.
Yeah, it works perfect. It works great. So that's a good one.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. Well, I asked you about this a second ago. What was this?
That is one of our 20-watt amps, but it's not a particular one anymore. It's kind of been modified. It started its life as the Jerry Cantrell amp.
Oh, wow.
But and there's a knob right on his logo over on the left. This is a shop amp that I modified to do several things that we need to do around here sometimes.
So, because it goes up to 11, everything's at 5.5.
Yes. We thought that was cute at the time.
Yeah, well, you know. Oh, wow, look. Here's the HH. So the IC100 basically looks like this, but it's got a silver front.
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. That H&H is what they called a slave amp.
Yeah.
It was designed to set a head on top of it.
Yeah. The IC100 would have sat on top of it.
Where it's like it's set up that way.
Yeah.
And it's just like another head, and you stack another head on top.
Oh, I've owned these. I've owned AC100s. I've owned these. I mean, I had guitar rigs with this. There was a point in like the 80s that something like this was £75.
Oh yeah, sure.
And even when they were new, HH stuff was never expensive. It was always affordable. Like I said, they were very like Cosborough. They were sort of like a PV kind of price range, which is actually I think in the 80s quite an underrated amp. PV stuff.
Yeah, there were some good things in that bunch.
Some good loud things.
Yeah, some of them were good. Some were kind of not great, but
they made some crazy things, didn't they? And then
they made everything.
They made everything, and their nomenclature made no sense. It was like they would have a name for was this mid range or what?
Yeah.
I can't
They
even
made
remember.
a bunch of great stuff over the years. Remember they had an old CS100 power amp, which is basically a backbreaker of a power amp that we would use in PA systems and stuff when I was a kid and stuff. You could tumble it out of the back of a truck and let it tumble down the street and it would still work.
Yeah. That and the Black Widow speakers.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were really super efficient and loud. So if we had a PA rental company, me and some friends, and the only way to really get a big, loud PA, because we couldn't afford JBLs or anything like that, they were like 3 times the price, was to buy the Black Widows. And the other thing is when they blew up, which invariably under my hands, mixing live, they would, you could just undo the magnet and take off the front and then screw a new one back on, and off you were going. You could repair a speaker in about 20 minutes.
That's cool.
Back in a cabinet.
Yeah. Innovative ideas.
Yeah, really. And made in America. What are all of these?
Some aren't, a couple aren't mine. Two in the middle aren't mine.
It says Gibson. I presume that's...
That was an old build. Eddie's original guitar said Gibson at the top.
Oh, he did?
A little sticker on it that said that. So this was just a clone of the original.
Oh, wow.
With that.
Can I play it?
Yeah, sure.
If it's a clone of the original.
Kind of a clone. I don't know if it's really a clone, but it's,
Hey, good enough for me. Yeah. Oh, that's really sexy. Oh, yeah, it's when you bend, it just stays. Oh, yeah. Very smooth, yeah, no fight at all.
It's not mine, I didn't build it, so.
I presume it's somebody who likes to bend notes, because that really plays well for bends. Is that a Nash?
No, it's
Ash?
Lush.
Lush.
It's a friend of mine that he's a guitar luthier that makes some guitars sometimes, and that's just a flat black kind of telly, that a raw kind of guitar I had him do a long time ago. That's extra special. That's our.
What is that?
That's our just fun project guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's especially fun about that is the fact that it's 12-string, but only 6 of the strings are being tremoloed.
Nice. And it's got a chili pepper on the tremolo.
Yeah, it's got a wheel, it's got a couple switches.
Like you do.
A hook for your coat. So cool. And a spigot, because, you need a spigot.
If you're going to do some gardening while you're out there, you need to water it,
It's an art project.
I love it.
So to speak.
Love it.
It's an art project.
I'm looking here. What is a junk box? What is this?
That is a little pedalboard interface box.
Okay.
Made by fixpedalboards.com. And you can buy those. They're available now.
Great. We'll link to it.
Passive TRS feed through, so all TRSs, just a box. You can use it for anything.
Right.
It's useful in the studio too. If you need something to pass some signal somewhere and you don't want to go plug in, you can just use it.
Nice. I like that you're happy with me just nosing around here.
Yeah, hopefully you don't find anything that we don't want to see, but I think
we'll edit it out.
I think we're good.
And you got a beautiful collection of Marshalls sitting around.
Oh, that's
here.
work to be done.
Work to be done.
Work to be done.
So people are coming to you, some unknown people like Michael Landau, I'm sure that...
yeah. I got to finish that.
That's an anniversary. What year was the red one?
That's an old one, actually, but...
70?
Yeah, that's an early 70s of some sort. I haven't got into it yet, so I don't even know what it is yet.
Well, here's a very heavily modded JCM 800.
Oh, yeah. It even has the guitar stand on the side. Which is funny. In actuality, that works really well. If it's sitting on a 4x12, you just hang your guitar off of it.
That's a really smart idea. System master, saturation master, 3 other switches, another...
Oh, a whole bunch of stuff. That's all bunch of modded mods. Out. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
insane. How's your hearing, Eric? Oh, you're wearing headphones over the top. That's crazy. And what is this as well?
That's a road-worn Strat. Just, I love those guitars. I just bought one years ago, and I just love it.
So that's just like a wall of guitar. It's like a wall of just like sound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just like a modeler.
Oh, dear. Yeah, you know what I'm playing, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, we always used to call that as kids the note from God. You know, when he's doing,
yeah,
and he just put the wire on full treble and just go. It was just like, that was the note.
That's the thing. That's the beauty of an amp like that.
Yeah.
It does that.
Yeah.
It cleans up totally clean.
Yeah, amazing.
And then raging when it's full up. And everywhere in between.
Yeah.
The lost art of volume knobs on guitars.
Yeah, agreed.